couple of things before we get into the video. First of all, if you guys could hit the like button if you end up enjoying this video, that would be awesome. Also, if you are subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit the notification bell so you are notified every single time that I upload a video. And I'm also trying to grow a vlog channel, so if you guys are interested in that, there will be a link in the top right-hand corner of your screen right now, as well as a link in the description and at the end of this video. If you could go over there, show some support, like the videos there, subscribe, I would appreciate that. Anyways, enjoy the video. What's up, people of YouTube? This is Troll here, bringing you guys another video to the channel, and today we're going to be discussing The Last of Us Part 2. We're going to be talking about all of the drama, everything that happened in that game, and I'm going to be giving you guys my overall review, but I also just kind of want to discuss, you know, why people hated this game as much as they did and my standpoint on that. So this video will have a lot of spoilers in it, like a lot of spoilers, like all of the spoilers. So if you haven't played the game yet and you intend on playing it or you're not finished with it, please do not watch this video if spoilers bother you. I'm giving you plenty of warning here. There will be spoilers, so take note. Also, before we get into the video, I want to apologize for the fact that my nose is extremely stuffy, and I'm sorry. I know nobody wants to hear me sound like this on the microphone, but I am sick, and I can't seem to get this to go away. I apologize, but we're just going to have to deal with it for the sake of this video and probably a couple more down the road. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into everything about The Last of Us Part 2. So, the first Last of Us game came out 2013-ish, 2014, somewhere in there, and since then I had been looking forward to The Last of Us Part 2. I was very excited to get this game, and I stayed away from all of the leaks and stuff like that that happened back about a month or so ago, and when the game released, people were talking insane crap about the game, saying that it was very bad, that they hated it, they were mad at Naughty Dog, they were mad at the lead developers and directors and everything. I didn't understand that. Like, I didn't see how it could be that bad to where somebody would dislike the game to that extent. And once I started playing it, I felt like I was even more justified in that thought. But about halfway through the game, I started to understand a little bit as to why people were upset, at least a part of it. I don't agree with the majority of reasons people are mad, and to kind of kick this off, people are really upset about Joel's death. So, to kind of set the stage for anybody who hasn't played the game or you don't care about the spoilers, in the first game, at the end of the first game, Ellie is taken to the Fireflies to get a cure because she is immune to the sickness. Well, Joel finds out in the midst of that the Fireflies are going to have to kill her in order to get a cure to save the world. Joel makes the split-second decision with this person that he's been so attached to over the course of a game that's kind of like a daughter figure to him, that he's not letting them kill her for a cure. That's not happening. So he shoots the doctor that is in the process of about to operate on Ellie to create the cure, takes Ellie, and dips. And that is the end of the first game, and there was a lot of bonding throughout it. You see a lot of character growth between Joel and Ellie, and it's a great time. Great game, fantastic, like about as close to perfection as you can get when it comes to a video game. To kickstart the second game in The Last of Us, Joel gets killed by this character that you also play as throughout this like beginning sequence, the first 2 hours of the game. There are moments where you play as this character. Joel rescues her, and they go back to this girl's little camp thing where they're kind of just held up through a snowstorm. Well, these people are searching for somebody. It turns out that the person that they are searching for is Joel. And they kind of all realize it when they're inside this building, and they end up attacking Joel and pinning him to the ground, shooting him in the leg with a shotgun. This character is Abby. She has a extreme vengeance against Joel and wants him to pay for something. At this point in the story, we do not understand what that is that she wants him to pay for. We do end up finding out that the doctor that was killed was her father, and she's been on this hunt for the past, I don't even know how many years it's been, like 6, 7 years, whatever, to find Joel and to kill him for him killing her father. You know, I get what they were trying to do with this. I understand, you know, that they were trying to make us feel for Abby, because they make us go through these scenes where we play as Abby and you're around her father and you're experiencing the Fireflies and the friends that Abby grows up with. I get what they were going for with that, but to be completely honest, I did not care. There were some characters within Abby's storyline that I did like. I did like Manny. I did like Owen. I didn't hate Abby as a whole. Like, they did kind of accomplish that. in a sense. You know, she wasn't like this horrible evil person like a normal villain would be per se, but I honestly, they overdid it. They definitely went too far with us having to play as Abby. The majority of the game, or the first half of the game, I would say, you play as Ellie, trying to seek vengeance on Abby, to hunt her down and to kill her for killing Joel. That's kind of the premise of the video, or of the game. But about halfway through the game, you switch to play as Abby. And then, you know, I thought, okay, well, this will be this short little sequence. We'll go through a couple of things, and then we'll all kind of sync back up to where we were at. But man, was I wrong. I was completely wrong. You play roughly about the other half of the game as the killer of the lead character of the game. And I don't understand what they were going for with this. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Was not a fan of this in most aspects. I do like the fact that they fleshed out the relationship between Abby and some of those characters. Owen, to be specific, I really liked Owen. I thought he was a very likable character, and I would have liked to have seen him expand more and grow more, and potentially be in the next Last of Us game, assuming that there will be one. But that's not going to happen because he was killed in the game, so that sucks. But Abby ends up, you know, getting back to where Ellie was located after Ellie has killed her friends, and Abby's the only one left, and there's this big falling out between the WLF, which is who Abby is with, as well as the Scars, or the Seraphites, which is these two rival gangs that are fighting in Seattle, the WLF and the Seraphites, and she is kind of in the wind with both of them. But now she's hunting down Ellie because Ellie just killed her friends, you know, but Ellie is only killing her friends because of what she did to Joel, but Joel was killed because of what Joel did to her father. In the long run here, I think that Abby is to blame for everything that had happened because it was over the top. It was an excessive lust for blood that really didn't make sense. If you would sit back and you would think about what was at stake, what was at risk for, you know, a person to have such a bond with another, like as if it's their daughter, to just be okay with that person dying on the table to save humanity. I get the sacrifice and the cost and how like that's heroic and everything, but like not everybody's gonna be okay with that. And for you to want to spend the next 6 years of your life, whatever, seeking vengeance for that death that you feel wronged about, that hurt because it was your own father, I get that, but to seek vengeance for that and then to finally get it and then to be upset when something happens to you, I just feel like it's a little bit shitty, and I don't know. I didn't like the direction that they took that in some ways. But ultimately, what upset me the most about having to play as Abby was when we got back to the location where Ellie was, and everything kind of syncs up together, and it all makes sense again, and you're playing as Abby, and you're fighting Ellie. That was the most atrocious, painstaking moment of the entire game. It was so obnoxiously annoying, because the last thing that I want to do is fight the character that I care the most about in the entire game. After I just got done playing as this person that I don't really like that much, that being Abby, for like 6 hours, like 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. It was bad. You know, like I said earlier, I like the fact that they fleshed out the storyline between Abby and some of those other characters and made her feel human. I very much appreciate that, but they could have just done that through cutscenes and very minor gameplay. It didn't have to be this full travel sequence from one side of Seattle to the other, hunting and killing and going through everything that I just did with Ellie, but as this character that I care significantly less about. That's my biggest issue with the whole game, is the fact that I had to play as Abby as long as I did. Almost everything else about the game, in my opinion, was perfect. And I personally give this game a 9 out of 10. I think this is probably top 5 favorite games out of all time for me personally. The reasons that people were upset and threw a fit over this game is like mind-numbingly dumb, in my opinion. I did see a lot of criticism about Joel dying in the first 2 hours of the game. I don't understand what the hate was with that, just because of the fact that I expected Joel to die in the first game. I was waiting for it to happen the whole time. So for him to die in the second game and for it to kickstart the you know, revenge sequence for Ellie, I was completely cool with that. It hurt. I felt so much pain in those moments that, like, I can't even describe. Like, it literally hurt to watch that. I don't think a video game has ever made me hurt as much as that moment did, where Ellie is pinned to the ground watching Joel get his head bashed in. It was absolutely brutal, and I liked it for what it was and what they were trying to do. I liked that moment, and I have no complaints about that. The other thing that I saw a lot of people complain about, which again made no sense to me, for the most part, I will touch on that for just a moment, but the LGBTQ stuff that was in the game, I don't understand why people were so mad about this. In the first game, it was blatantly obvious that Ellie was bisexual or a lesbian, whatever you want to call it. It was very clear that she was that way, at least from my perspective. It wasn't shock when you found out that she kissed Dina or whatever. Like, that just was what it was, you know? So there's this like relationship between Dina and Ellie going through the whole game, this love triangle between Jesse and Dina and Ellie, and it was a weird situation, but it made it feel real. It made it feel like it was real life. There were issues, there were relationship dramas, there was fighting and forgiveness and petty drama problems and people's beliefs, with some people being, you know, gay or whatever. That stuff felt real to me. It just felt like if there was a zombie apocalypse, and after the initial shock of everything going to hell and people kind of building up a little mini civilization again, people would fall back into having these types of issues. So to me, that felt very natural, and I don't have any complaints about that. There was one moment in the game where I felt like it was kind of forced, and that was for Lev, the character that Abby meets that's a little girl technically, but feels like a boy on the inside. I felt like they just threw that in there for it to be there. You know, I don't know. It wasn't, you know, deal breaking. It wasn't awful. It's just, it felt like there are so many LGBTQ characters in this game. There are 5 or 6, I want to say 4 or 5, something like that, LGBTQ characters that are very much not just your generic straight person, which is 100% fine. And then for it to be a post-apocalyptic world, and for another one of the main characters in the game to end up being transgender or wanting to be transgender, however you phrase that, was just odd to me. It felt like there was just too much at that point for it to make sense in a realistic standpoint. Not to say that in a world like that, that stuff wouldn't exist, because I'm sure it would, but for it to be such a prominent thing throughout this group of characters just felt odd to me. But again, it wasn't bad. You know, I did like Lev as a character, and I would love to see more character growth there. So overall, I thought the game was fantastic. I really don't have that many complaints about it. It was gripping. It hurt in so many different moments to watch. I did particularly like the fact that they made Ellie feel like a human being and not some superhuman hunting, killing monster, when Abby literally just messed Ellie up. Like, broke her arm, beat the crap out of her, and then gave her another opportunity to live. I liked that. I just wish that I wasn't the person that had to play through all of those steps to get to that point where she does that to Ellie. I felt like it was just obnoxious. The last thing that I want to mention, actually I have 2 last things that I want to mention here. They gave names to the dogs. So if you guys get the game and you're playing through it, you're going to notice that as Ellie, you have to kill dogs sometimes that like come to attack you. And then when you switch to play as Abby, you realize that these dogs that you're killing are loved by people, and like they have names, and you play fetch with them and stuff. And then you're just out here as Ellie just murdering dogs. And it hit me so hard, because if you guys know me personally, you know I care more about dogs than I do humans. So I thought that was a pretty dirty move for Naughty Dog to pull there, but it did hit me right in the feels like it was supposed to. The last thing that I want to talk about is the ending scene and not killing Abby. So after Abby gave Ellie a second chance to live, and Ellie kind of retires and lives on a farm with Dina and her child that she got pregnant from Jesse, and they were kind of doing this like kumbaya, things are great like lifestyle, but clearly Ellie is still not cool with how things happened, and she is suffering from some form of PTSD, having traumatic moments that she's experiencing of Joel's death, and she feels like she still hasn't redeemed Joel for what has happened. And then she sets off to go and find Abby again, where she goes to California, and you play the last part of the game, which was probably some of the best content in the entire game, in my opinion, with the exception of the fact that in the very end, she didn't kill Abby. She had this kind of like realization that how I perceived it was Joel had said that if he could go back and take back not leaving her in the hospital to save the world, he would, because once Ellie found out, she was very upset about that he made that decision. And I feel like she realized that this is almost his way of being able to kind of like relive that experience. He got his karma for what he did wrong, and by killing Abby, it's kind of like undoing what was served as the proper justice. Does that make sense in a way? And I think that was the moment that she had realized what she was doing was not right, and she let Abby go, which I understand why it happened. It was just kind of strange to go through all of these steps, to jump through all of these hoops, just for Ellie to let her go. It was weird, but I also think that they were setting up the game for The Last of Us Part 3. I really do. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I think the game overall was awesome, and I do encourage you guys to go and pick it up. That's everything that I have to say about this game. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you've played The Last of Us Part 2, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about it, your overall opinions on how everything happened. Anyways, guys, deuces.